Welcome to Console Crapshoot, where we spin a wheel to play a random video game on original hardware. Very interesting game last week, I guess you could say. But I'm hoping Carl decides to give us something a little more fun to play this week. Oh wow, the Neo Geo CD. That's actually technically a new one for us, although I do play Neo Geo CD games through my Neo Geo AES. But it counts, it's different, and there's 50 games on this wheel. Magician Lord, we already got that one on the Neo Geo. Neo Geo CD is essentially the same. We're spinning again. Okay, this is better. Super Baseball 2020. So, like I alluded to, Magician Lord on the Neo Geo CD is essentially exactly the same game as on the Neo Geo AES. I popped it in, I checked it out, I'll give it a rating. It's still a 3 out of 5, just like last time. Okay, on to our game for this week, but first, real quick, if you know anything about the Neo Geo, you know how expensive it was, you know how expensive the games were. The Neo Geo CD was an attempt at making the same games more affordable. Instead of giant cartridges that are essentially arcade boards, we start using CD media, much cheaper, but these are all essentially the same games. Our game for this week, Super Baseball 2020, is no different, same on both systems. In fact, I'm going to knock it off the Neo Geo list as well. But this is actually one of those Neo Geo games that got ported over to the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. My brother actually had the Genesis version, we used to play it all the time, and he told me it was his go-to game when he was homesick from school. Here's a look at the Genesis version just so you can see the difference. Pretty good port, but you can definitely tell there's a graphical difference. I mean, you're talking a 46 meg cartridge on the Neo Geo, which is small in Neo Geo terms, but dwarfs the 16 meg cartridge that was released for the Genesis. So what this is an imagination of the sport of baseball in the far distant future of 2020. This game envisions the sport of baseball really changing quite a bit in that time to include like cybernetic implants and jetpacks and full-on robots. They really overestimated the year 2020 by a lot. I mean, in baseball, we finally got umpires to have to look at replays if they get a call wrong, but we still have umpires calling balls and strikes, which is ridiculous because we have systems in place that do that automatically on TV broadcast. I mean, this vision of 2020 was pretty rosy. I mean, outside of baseball, what did 2020 actually give us? Instead of baseball robots and jetpacks, we got toilet paper shortages and something called Tiger King. But aside from its very inaccurate predictions, this game was fun. Most baseball games are pretty boring, at least this one tries to do something different. When players on your team score hits, or they make plays, or they make good pitches, or whatever, you actually earn money, which is a pretty funny prediction on capitalism and stuff. You picture the future and every little thing about the sport gets monetized. That's kind of funny. Also, the MVP of the game can win a robot bodyguard or something called Class A citizenship, which is kind of troubling. The more money you earn, the more you can use that money to spend on power-ups to essentially boost your players. You can choose to boost a hitter's hitting power or a pitcher's arm strength. These boosts are temporary, so you use your money strategically. There's certain spots in the outfield that you can jump from and use your jetpack. You can't just use your jetpack anywhere. You have to be on one of these little pads. As the games go on, they actually put landmines down in the outfield, and each inning they add more landmines so that the whole field is covered in them. I figured out a way to pitch to right-handed batters where they could never hit the ball and they swung at it every time. Not very smart AI, but there was some subtlety to it. Something that I don't think was actually defined or made official is that this game is actually a sequel. The Neo Geo games, Baseball Stars Professional and Baseball Stars Professional 2 are essentially the same exact game. It's the same camera, it's the same menus and graphics, it's the same almost everything, except with this game they put a coat of paint on it that made it look like, the future. They added features to it to do that. But I think of Super Baseball 2020 as the same, canon universe as Baseball Stars Professional. It just takes place in the future. I didn't get a chance to check out all of the teams, but this team, the Mechanical Brains, is a team of all robots, and all of their robots are named after sci-fi robots. So you got a D2R2, you got a Johnny 6, Herman, Ed 309, and POC3, just to name a few. It's fun to pick up and play, but there's not much meat to it once you get past the gimmick. As we know, the Neo Geo was basically built as an arcade system first, and this is those same arcade games brought to the home. And baseball games, I don't think really translate well to arcades. This one definitely gets credit for feeling a little different, trying something a little new, changing it up a little bit. Like I said, my kid brain really liked it. But now, honestly, after after a game or two, I felt a little bored. The graphics are really good, the sound is really good, the gameplay can feel a little frustrating and limiting at times, but I did really enjoy playing it. So let's give a rating to Super Baseball 2020 on the Neo Geo CD. Yeah, this was fun. The power-up system is really refreshing. This game is not even remotely bad. It's good, it's fun, it's creative, but all that only takes it so far. It's also very limited. I'm going to say this is a solid 3 out of 5. The future predictions of the 80s and 90s are pretty fun to look back at now. Let's see, 24 years from now is 2048. I doubt even by then we will have jetpack robot baseball, but fingers crossed. I'll be grateful if the temperature is bearable. Maybe AI will help us with that instead of writing movie scripts. One can only hope. But as always, again, thank you guys for watching. Also, hopefully maybe by 2048 we'll be 5% through my games library on this show. We'll see. Hopefully some of you will be there with me. Thanks everyone. We'll see you next week.